Mm-hmm.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you.
I just have a jacket.
It looks nice.
It was
Dang,
like
not
you're in
only does she not give compliments, but she can't take them either.
I mean, I was just cold, but honestly, that's it. Just a jacket. I mean, well, I do have a skirt, but yeah.
You look nice.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm just here listening. So, like I
Yeah,
said,
she promised she wouldn't take over the call. I said, okay, you could get on then.
yeah, I'm not gonna rain on Lisa's parade here. I'm just gonna be listening in. So,
Well, we have
I hear.
guidelines because we've been following a theme. So our theme is kind of resetting the outer parts and the inner parts of our life. So we've talked about vision boards, but we didn't do one because we did a becoming board. So we did the office space. Who actually into the chat, who did all their office space? Yep. Cleaned it up, moved things around, stuff like that. There was a few pictures in there. Okay. And then we did the becoming board. How was the becoming board for you guys? Pretty powerful, right? I saw quite a few posts in there. Yeah, so we did all of that. So I had a list of stuff because I didn't want to forget. We've done quite a bit this month of really working on setting ourselves up for success in 2024. And so I want you guys to kind of keep that in mind. It doesn't just stop just because you did it and you completed the homework, right? This is stuff you guys are constantly going to be aiming for every day moving forward. So now let's move into the next step that I want to do with you guys. So this is something that I started in September. And Amanda, if you could post in the group, maybe see where everyone's at, because I know sometimes they forget because it's a new call. But I started this in September, and this was pretty powerful. I don't remember what triggered it, but I was like, you know what, screw this. I am not getting on any kind of digital social media, nothing for the entire weekend. And I think it was just a matter of a combination of things. But I remember it being just I was getting annoyed being on my phone, but I wasn't getting off it, right? The addiction of being on your phone. And that happened a lot during COVID when we were all stuck inside. All we had to the outside world and everything like that was online, right? They say the average American spends 11 hours a day on their phone between working and scrolling and mindlessly. And if you're doing that, that's great. I've hit 13 hours. I mean, I'm not ashamed to admit it. Like I leave things playing in the background. I keep, maybe I don't turn it off all the time. I'm on the phone excessively that day. Like I've seen my screen time hit that much. And so one of the things I kind of wanted to talk about and that I wanted us to focus on this is really understanding what an excessive amount of screen time can do to anyone, okay? And so, first, it is one of the leading causes into depression because even if you know not to compare yourself, you are constantly comparing yourself to what you see on social media. And let's think about it. When you get into the group and you see people that have been winning, which is good, it goes one or two ways. It goes, you're inspired to keep moving, or you start immediately comparing yourself, especially if they started around the same time as you being like, I should be this far, I should be doing this stuff. What is wrong with me? Why is this not working for me? There's two different ways here. Now, this is not to say get out of our group, okay? We're gonna get to that soon. It's just to say that you can see where it leads into there. The other thing is it increases feelings of anxiety. It's also been shown to diminish our attention span. So, did anyone get on the TikTok trend of the Risa Tisa? Anyone know what I'm talking about? Nobody? Okay, this is a 50-part, 10-minute each part series on TikTok of this lady. And it's like this world phenomenon because people watched all 50 parts. And they said, so it's an attention span, but in normal social media, and I don't recommend doing it, you will be stuck for like 8, 10 hours. I deep clean my entire house while this played in the background type of thing, okay? Like I don't recommend getting on it and getting stuck because it's actually a really good story, but it's long. And but one of the things is I kept seeing in the comments because what I do is when it's playing, I'll like when it starts, I'll read kind of the comments of what's going on in there. And they said I have not been able to pay attention like this in such a long time. And so I was like, yeah, our attention spans are shorter and they're getting worse. They're getting worse because we're used to the constant dopamine hits of social media and seeing stuff and getting on and all of that. And so we are going to talk about what's called a digital detox. This is your homework this week. We are going to detox. And what I did when this happened in September, you don't have to go this drastic, okay? You do not have to go this drastic, because I took a weekend and I did not get on the internet at all. I didn't even look at my phone unless just to check that no emergencies came through. I completely like detoxed myself. And what I found by the time I came back Monday was, one, I was more excited to work. I was more motivated. Two, I wasn't so annoyed and on edge. And this was after, I hate these reaction things. It won't turn off. I wasn't like so on edge. And three, I was able to shorten the amount of time for focused work and then be able to do other things around it. So like when Monday came, I said, I will do everything I need to do in a couple of hours, right? Like everything I need to do. Because what I was doing was mindlessly, I was on social media for 12, 13 hours a day, mindlessly scrolling all the groups and getting on TikTok. And I was wasting so much time with the mindless scrolling. Hold on a second.
Oh, not
Okay.
those dogs.
This dang dogs and they're licking. Okay, so it's like my pet peeve. Okay, so like I can't even focus. Um, so I was mindlessly scrolling. I was wasting a lot of time. And what I found was it wasn't even on new stuff. It wasn't even on like, bettering myself. It was literally just social media time and all of that. So one of the things that I did was I my coach calls it, now he did a training on it, he called spanxing my calendars. So what it means is like sucking in the time into so many hours, and then the rest I had to go do something else that had nothing to do with screen time. And I've managed to implement this because I like literally would sit there and scroll the student group. I'm not kidding. And there would be no new updates, but I would check it like 50 times a day. And it was just completely all consuming. And it's just something that slowly builds. So this week, our goal is, and I want you guys to kind of work on this too, is how do I start doing this? How can I detox? So here are a few things I did. I took off all notifications for all social media from my phone. Okay. And I have dedicated times. If you notice, I tend to go in the group at the same times every day. They're usually around the same times. I have some for you guys. I have like 3 times a day I go into your group, and 1 time to 2 times a day I go into the public group. Okay. So I have dedicated times for each group. They're about 5 to 10 minutes. So that's something you guys can do because we put important updates in there, stuff like that. The other thing is that I started doing was I turned off all notifications, but I also deleted, when I was doing the detox, I actually deleted it off my phone altogether so that I wasn't tempted to text. I had to go in to my office and open Facebook and open Instagram on my computer. And so it made me limit the amount of time that I was mindlessly scrolling. Okay. So I did that. And then instead, I picked what's called a hobby of the week. I picked a new hobby because I'm one of those people, I love to work, that I don't know what I like to do outside of work. And to this day, we're still figuring it out. But in September, I really didn't know what I like to do. So I started writing down all the things I said that I would like to eventually get to, and I picked a hobby of the week, and that time was spent towards doing something had nothing to do with technology or doing stuff like that. So like I did like the adult coloring books because I don't have the attention span for that, did that. I built a fairy garden. That's still a work in progress. I got Legos and I built with my son like the Lego houses. I was doing some weird stuff, but I was just trying to figure out things to do my time. The other thing is, as I went back into severely time blocking my entire day. So I would dedicate only 4 hours to the coaching business, and that included any coaching calls I had that day. That included anything. So if I had a coaching call that day, that was an hour out of my day. That was an hour that took away from the other work. But what I found is I went from 12, 13 hours worth of work down to 4, and I was doing it just as well, if not better. Why? Because I wasn't aimlessly scrolling in between the meantime. I wasn't dragging things on. I only had a few hours to get this done. And so it came out more intentional. It came out better. And I realized I did have more hours to my day. right? So then I dedicated 1 to 2 hours, depending on the day, towards real estate. So I had the 4 hours towards the coaching, because that had to include an hour in calls, an hour in meetings, whatever it is. And then I had 1 to 2 hours to real estate, depending on the day. So that went from working 12 to 13-hour days working, because obviously I was aimlessly scrolling, to 6. It cut my day in half, but I was doing more and pushing out more. And I was able to succeed more. I had the biggest months ever since then. I've had the biggest months, should I say. And so I want you guys to do that. So I challenge you guys for 1 week until the next one is to see how low you can get your screen time. Now, if you're working, that doesn't count. Okay. We can't we can't just be like, you know what, screw it. I'm not gonna work and do real estate this week. No, that doesn't count. What I mean is the excess screen time. So when you're off, instead of scrolling, and just go with me here, okay? Just try it for a week and see how your mood changes. If it doesn't change at all, fine. It doesn't change. Okay. But if it does, or it gets better and you find you're more productive and you're actually more excited to get to work and that, then this would be worth you trying it, right? Does this sound good? Any questions of the challenge? Anyone who want to talk about it? Or concerns of it? Because they're like, I like my phone. I like my phone too. But I've severely gone down on my screen time. That's okay, Cora. I'll do a quick summary of it here. Okay. Because I want to see if you guys are more productive in the time that I give it to you, right? In the time that you set aside, how much more you can get done instead of sitting there aimlessly. Okay. Yeah, I am too. Like, there are days still to this day where sometimes my screen time is insane. It's more than like, it's pretty much the entire time I've been awake. Yep. You can also on your phone, you can set reminders. So like if it sees that you've been scrolling longer than 20 minutes, it will tell you. So there are ways to do that. Okay. Well, so good question. So if there's a chance, will we miss something important? You still need, that's part of work. The Facebook group, the student group, you need to associate that with work. That's REI. You don't want to never get into the group because yes, you will miss important things. So when you schedule your REI time, that's also the time you get into the group. That's the time you do studies on trainings, stuff like that. For example, I get on every Tuesday and Thursday. My coach does live training. I very rarely, because I've been in with him for so long, need to go in other trainings. So I have it time blocked that when he's talking from 4 to 5:30 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I go in and do that. I go into the Facebook group with them. I have that time block because that is work. That is for me. That is training. That's education. So I do not want the group to all of a sudden drop down. Just put it in your time frame. Okay. Like if you know you need 10 to 15 minutes in the group a day, then you need to schedule that in, but make sure it's not more than 10 to 15 unless there's a live going on or stuff like that. Make sense? Yeah, try to only check your REI groups. Yeah, fine. And it's just for a week. Just find what it does for you. Yep, I'm reading all the stuff. I know, Amanda, you're perfectly created TikToks. Let me see. Yeah, so I want you guys to just work on that. So basically, for those of you that came in later, I gave them a challenge. We talked about the fact that the average American spends 11 hours a day on their phone, aimlessly scrolling, stuff like that. That's an average, meaning there's people that do more, there's people that do less. You can actually go into your phone and check your screen time. You would be surprised. And we had a funny thing once. We're at an event. Laura, do you remember this? Where he was like, this guy was like, I have no time to do anything. He's like, give me your phone. And he checked his screen time. He said, you've spent 4 hours on freaking Instagram a day. That's where your time went. So if you're confused on time, maybe look at your screen time, right? And so, and I'm not saying never get on the phone. I'm saying just for 1 week, detox from it. Do your work, do whatever you have to do your trainings, do all of that. And then, come back to it and see how you feel. But what I found is I stopped the endless scrolling. And I had way more time to focus on what felt good. My mental health went back up, things like that. And this was September. And I just did it like 2 weekends ago. You guys had no idea, but I took a social media detox the entire weekend. I didn't do anything. I came on, literally just posted my affirmations, got off. And what I found was I felt better. So on the weekends now, I'll come in the morning, post my affirmations, check the student group, and leave. And that's it. And that's all I do because it's the weekend. And I need to give myself that mental break. Right. And also, what I found, and I shared about this, I think in September, right after, that no crazy catastrophe went on because I was not checking my phone. Like, we're always worried that something insane is going to go on if we don't check our phone. One, you could have it on do not disturb, and that the people that are important can call through and it will come through. So you could do something like that. But two, it's really a lot of your fears of trying to keep you on your phone that keeps you on your phone. So social media detox this week. I would love to see how you go. My sister just did one. She got her screen time from, I think she said it was like 10 or 11 hours down to 1.5. 1.5 was her average screen time for the week. And she said, I really tested myself here. I did not get on the phone or anything. But what she found was she was way more productive in her day to day. And I said, yep, I do that all the time. So let's try it for 1 week. What can it hurt? Now, again, I want to make this very clear. This does not count for work-related things. This does not count for real estate-related things. You can go in and it will tell you how much time have you, well, on the iPhone anyway, did you spend on Instagram? Did you spend on Facebook? Did you spend on this? And you will be able to know, was I on Facebook because I was working and I was doing real estate stuff, or was I mindlessly scrolling? Right? And so it kind of gives you that kind of like jump down. How long did you spend on TikTok this week? It will tell you. Right? I'm not on TikTok for work, so that should not be that high. But it is. TikTok is my most used app. I usually let it play while I'm getting ready, watch stuff like that. Like, it's just one of those things. I get a lot of good advice from there. I get a lot of stupid advice from there too, but I get a lot of good advice and good things and good ideas. That's how we came up with the Becoming board. Yeah, I love TikTok. I got on it in COVID, and it's been the bane of my existence since. So, okay. Awesome. All right. So I'm going to stop the recording here.